Let's get this webinar started. We will get started with Dr. Haridas, who is going to give you a brief idea about what you can expect. And after that, we will be jumping on to our presentation, which will answer all your questions on this topic, after which it will be followed by another live Q&A round. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Suchi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Dr. Shailashri Haridas. I'm the Dean at MIT World Peace University. I'm associated with MIT from last 20 years as such. I'm an economist by profession and an alumni of IIM Calcutta too. Dear students, we all are in a very difficult situation now. We all are, we really would like to come out of this situation as early as possible. You all know what it is as such. So even though in a difficult situation, think for a minute about who is the most respected in the society now. Now, the person who is most respected in the society, we all agree with, number one is the doctors, and number two is the district collectors. A person actually who is struggling, who is taking 24/7 as his time, from his schedule, and then making the things happen or controlling this particular nightmare, whatever we call it as. So he is the one who builds the society, right? He is the one who builds the city. He is the one who builds the villages. He transforms the villages into the sustainable villages. He is the one who improves the lives of the society. So who is he or she? He's a district collector or IAS officer. So when once we think about being the IAS officer, they're the most respected one always. Even if you think about 20 years, 30 years before, IAS officers were the most respected. Even if you think now, they're always the most respected as such. If you really think about engineering and management is becoming more saturated nowadays. But IAS is something which is never saturated because government requires huge machinery to run this particular aspect, to run the governance. We always talk this as the governance part of it. So in order to become the IAS officer, what is the bare minimum requirement? You have to be the graduate so that you can give this UPSC examination. In Maharashtra, it is MPSC examination, or each state has its own examination for state level units. And for being the IAS officer, you have to give the UPSC examination. So once we are thinking about giving the UPSC examination, graduation is must. Usually what the students at your age, they do that you just opt for a particular degree because graduation is important, and people keep on going for all these coaching classes where you spend so much of time in the coaching class. So either the graduation which you're doing is a waste which you cannot encash, or whatever you're studying in the UPSCs is it's completely different. And when once the examination time comes up, the people are so much stressed because you don't know whether to study for graduation or whether to study for UPSC examination. So in order to come out of this as one of the problem, what we at MIT World Peace University we have done is we have come up with a unique program where you will be doing the BA program. Along with this, it will prepare you for this coaching, instead of going for the coaching classes, it prepares you for all the competitive examinations. It's not only UPSC, but there are so many competitive exams. So we take care of all your competitive exams. Having said it, what I imply with this is our syllabus of BA, 3 years, year 1, year 2, and year 3, it specifically talks about what is required for the prelims, what is required for the mains, and what is required for the interview. Like we are so customized the program to such an extent that after this graduation, you can immediately give your examination. You'll be capable of giving the examination, and you can get selected, based on your preparation, of course, but you can get selected as such. And in case if you really dream to be the IAS officer, you need to start at the very early age. It's usually it happens that, or you also must have seen in the outside world that people complete the graduation and after that they study for 3-4 years and then they give the UPSC examination. By the time they come to the higher age and then they become frustrated saying that hum kya kar sakte hain abhi, what we can do, nothing can be done at that particular age. So we always advise that you start at the very early age and you be focused on your efforts, and consistent efforts towards any direction will always give you the result. This is something which is proved by everybody as such. So I suggest that you check this BA in Government and Administration program as such. It gives you tremendous career opportunities. We will take it as a part of the presentation as such. But if you're really dreaming to be the IAS officers, or if you're really dreaming to have a safe job in the government, if you're really dreaming to have a luxurious job in the government, possibly this is the program you all should look into as such. Over to you, Madam Suchi.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Dear students, you heard ma'am, a value-based career, especially if you're eyeing those very, very valuable government jobs, an opportunity for you to make a real difference in the Indian society and in our nation as such. And we invite all of you with open minds to go ahead and listen to our next presentation, which will tell you much more about this program. Over to you, Gopal sir. Please go ahead and give us more details.
Good evening, all of you. Good evening, all of you. Myself, Professor Gopal at MIT School of Government. Today, with this very exciting introduction by Haridas Madam, it's really like forward-looking for you all to come and explore this program. So, without wasting much time, I will just take you through the presentation wherein you can see what are focus area, the objectives of this program. So, as I said earlier, that whenever you are going through this program, you should be in a position that please go through what the syllabus is, what is the content which has been required. So here, if you see this focus areas, that is like the Indian history, society, culture, constitutional law, public policy, political economy, and the list is big. So all these subjects prepares you to the very detailed of the UPSC examinations and the other civil services examinations. So as in the introduction, as it was been told, that if you begin at the very early, at the very beginning of your preparation, it less efforts for you to slog later after completion of your admission. So here you can see this program, the salient features which I would just list it out here. It prepares you for the UPSC and other competitive examinations. The highlighting features over here is the mentor-mentee program, where the students are being mentored by the UPSC rank holders and the UPSC officers. Also, there are interactive sessions with the IS officers, IFS officers, IPS, IRS, etc., and the various professionals coming from the background of judiciary or media. There are also the field visits which are being conducted as a part of this program to various government offices and also other commissions of the government. The research projects and analysis is also the feature which has been highlighted in each of the trimester of this program. So here, this program in the last trimesters takes you to the career-based internship, wherein you are being attached to a particular, say, government office, or you are being attached to a particular commission where you get to know the real-time working of the government. So that makes you really hardcore prepared for your preparation to give the examination. So these are just the potential placements and the internships where you can look in for, and also what are the opportunities available. So as listed, like the UPSC civil services examination and the other state services examination is the biggest highlight of this program, which prepares you to the core. So if you see the examples, like just say in a half a decade, so 4 to 5 years of this span, if you see the youngest rankers which have come out, to name a few, like say Tina Dabi or Ansar Ahmed is there, or Roman Saini is there, or Amrutesh Aurangabadkar is there. All these students have come out with their BA, and immediately they have given the examination. So at the age of 21, 22, they have become officers, and literally at the Labasna Academy, that is the Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy at the Missouri, they are being like nicknamed as CS, that's the cabinet secretary, because the earlier you get into this examination, it takes you to the top position into the civil services hierarchy, that is the cabinet secretariat. So it's really welcoming, like it would be really welcoming for you all that you please join in as early as possible, wherein the program takes you to the complete syllabus of UPSC and also makes you give this examinations with the full vigor. So here I would just take you through the program structure, wherein you can see we are having a trimester pattern. So this trimester pattern is very meticulously been designed with the taking of the idea that how there is a continuity throughout the year, and this continuity in the syllabus, like here you can see there is the Indian history, for example, I would say ancient and medieval, which has been followed by the modern history, which has been followed by the world history, further in the post-Indian history. So here you can see it for each and every subject. So therefore, this flow which is there, that prepares you really, really well for the examination. Apart from that, we are also having the experiential learning component, where, and as I said, that you would be having the field visit, you will be having attachment to the government, and also you would be having the programs like that would be the outbound programs, like the rural immersion programs which are there, wherein you would be visiting a village, or there would be a national study tour, visiting the institutions of national importance, or there would be an international study tour. So all these subjects are really those subjects which are the subjects at the UPSC examination and other state services examinations. Here, if you will see, these are all the bureaucrats who have worked for whole of their life, means they have put in their whole life working over there, and these bureaucrats come and they are the part of the eminent personalities sessions which has been conducted for you all. Also, as a part which I mentioned, that mentoring by the UPSC civil services merit rankers and the bureaucrats. So these are the rankers which you would be linked to, and wherein you would be getting a direct word, a direct communication from there, and they would be directly telling you about which are the core areas which you need to focus upon. So this really gives you a 360-degree preparation view for you in these 3 years, which will really take you way ahead of other students who would be taking up a graduation course after that, thinking of preparing for this examinations. So these are some of the glimpses which I would like to share with you of the UPSC civil services rankers, the local visits, the study tours which is there. And also, when you go through all these things, when, as I said, that as I named a few rankers like Ansar Ahmad Sheikh is there, or Tina Dabi is there, or Amrutesh Aurangabadkar is there. If you see their graduation which is there, it is BA Political Science, and for Amrutesh Aurangabadkar, it is BA Economics. So the point which needs to be noted out over here is that try to prepare or try to give more and more time to your preparation, and which can be done through this program which has been customized for, and which has been customized for your preparation at the UPSC examination. So I welcome you all at the campus. Looking forward to see you over there. Over to you, Madam Suchi.
Thank you so much, sir, for that very detailed presentation on our topic for today. Students, you heard firsthand from our faculty member as to the real life examples, the students who have pursued this program and where they are today. So I really hope that it helps you gauge as well if that's a direction that you would be keen to take as well with this very, very revered and valuable degree. All right, we are going to move on to our next segment. But before we do move on to our next segment, you will see that we are showcasing one Word doc on the screen, and these are answers to questions which we received from students, commonly asked student questions. So for some of you, if you'd like to give that a quick read, you are welcome to do so. Also, now we will be starting off with our live Q&A round. But before that, I want to remind you once again that go ahead and apply for this great program that we have here at MIT World Peace University. And you can log into admissions.mitwpu.edu.in and select this program, which is the BA in Government and Administration, and send in your admissions applications to us so that we can guide you further as to the next steps. All right, now we are jumping on to our live Q&A round, and we will be joined by our esteemed faculty members for this round, and we will be taking in most of your questions. So please go ahead and ask away all your questions, and we'll be happy to get to them. We are joined by Haridas ma'am, and of course Gopal sir will also be joining us for this round, and so will Ashish sir. Okay, great. So you can see we have our faculty members here waiting to answer all your questions. Okay, ma'am, we have some very interesting array of questions today. And our first question comes from a student who is asking us, can I become a political strategist after pursuing this degree? If yes, how?
Uh, yeah, that's an interesting question. Political strategist he's the one who actually makes the complete strategy for a political party or for the politician. That's how we define a political strategist as. So as far as BA in Government and Administration program is considered, this talks completely about the policy analysis, policy analytics, like all policies as such. So a politician should completely be having the knowledge of all the policies. No way that the politician can escape from this. So when once a political strategist is there, so what work the political strategist does? Either he will work on the elections and election related things, or number two, he will definitely work on the policy areas. Like say, for example, a bill has to be given in the parliament, then complete research has to be done from the backup team, saying that what should be the bill and how it should be presented, what are the ways of this, the policy appreciation. That's what we call it as in our language. So when once you talk about the electoral politics, or you talk about the functional politics, the political strategies is from the functional politics, you can definitely become political strategist after this particular program. If you really see, even in the presentation, a former chief election commissioner Gopal Swami, he's our professor emeritus. He is the one who was the chief election commissioner. We also have MIT School of Government, where a former Chief Election Commissioner, late Shri T.N. Sheshanji, he was our academic mentor. So what I can suggest, I also wrote the answer in the live chat there, in the live Q&A there, saying that there are two options. One is you complete BA in Government Administration and you take up the master's degree if you're more interested in the electoral political part, which is in the same campus it's available. That is number one. Or number two is you pursue the BA in Government Administration, and the institution can connect you to a political party or a politician of your own choice, where you can do the early internship with the politician or with the political party, so that it will help you to become the political strategist. The same campus, in the same floor, we have both the classes, one for the election related aspects, one for the policy related aspects. See, please understand, this governance and government, these are complementing to each other. Each person should have the knowledge of both, right? So that's where actually the relationship lies. And I would like to take it further to Mr. Ashish Lal to answer this particular question. But my submission is you can definitely be the political strategist after this particular program. Over to Ashish Lal.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, ma'am. Continuing with this question, see, for political strategists, only the knowledge of functioning of government or the administration is not important. You also need to understand the structure of the political system that we have in India, the political processes that we have in India, various political parties, their hierarchical structure, how they function. Then you need to know what are the constituency, what are elections. So my submission to you would be that while you are in 10+2, you are completing your higher secondary examinations, you apply for this program, where you will pick up on the administrative and other things, and you will understand the administrative structure much better. At the same time, I would suggest, why don't you pursue for even master's program here for the political leadership in government, that will train you on both the aspects. And for being a political strategist, you need to understand various systems of politics, as I said. So it is very crucial that at the same time you have your experiential learning done for the political system. So starting at the level of 10+2, the right step would be to apply for this program, where you understand the system of government and administration. And parallelly, to understand politics more, we look forward to you. We suggest that you go for a post-graduation program also. Thank you.
Possibly, Professor Gopal, you would like to add anything in very much in brief, not more than 3-4 sentences, please.
Yeah. So this question, like you need to understand that our system, it comprises of this two part. Like one is the legislative part, whereas there is the elected representatives, the politicians comes in, and there is the bureaucracy where there are the IS and the IPS officers which help. So it is that they are very much intimately connected to each other. So it is very much dependent ecosystem wherein whenever you come and take an admission over here, you try to understand all the nitty-gritties of the admission, and that would really help you to go further. Thank you.
Yeah, over to you, Madam Suchi.
Okay, great. Dear students, I'd also like to take this opportunity once again to invite all of you to please ask all your questions in our Q&A section that we have here today. You can see that our faculty is exclusively here today to answer all your queries. So go right on, and whatever your questions may be regarding this program, whether it's career prospects or the fees, or about entrance exams or placements, whatever your questions are, there are no wrong questions. So please go on and do type out your questions in our Q&A section, and we will be happy to take it up. All right, moving on to our next question for the day. Adinath is asking us, when will the entrance exam be conducted for this degree?
That's actually the regular question which everybody is asking for. We have the entrance examination, which we call this as UG PATE examination, which is the entrance examination, written examination, followed by the personal interview also. The question is over to Mr. Ashish Lal to explain further about the admission process.
For the admission process, as we are aware that the entire country is going through a pandemic, and we are trying, at some places have been declared as green zone. So my submission on this question is that, dear friend, don't panic. Because of the technology, we have online facilities available. As you're applying, we have shared the links here also with you. When you're applying for the admission online, similarly, we have an online process for the admissions, for the selection also. We will be conducting an online entrance test, as well as we will also be conducting a personal interview. So the selection criteria for this program comprises of an entrance test followed by personal interview, and the entire process we are conducting online. So whichever city, wherever you are present, utilizing the technology, you can appear for the exam. And I wish you all the best for your program, for your selections in future.
Yeah, just to add 30 more seconds, Madam Suchi, I hope we have that much of time.
Yes.
Yeah. See, as far as the entrance examination is considered, this examination is consisting of your general knowledge and the aptitude, basic English, logical reasoning, any competitive exam, the way any competitive exam happens as such. So these are all the questions at the 12th level. So you don't have to be worried too much about the examination part as such. And as for the interview is considered, we look for how much passionate you are about continuing with this particular program. That's something we always look for as a faculty, as a teacher. I always think about that you should be committed for a particular program, right? So once you have taken it up, if your mission of life is this, then you have to be with the mission forever. So that's what is something which we really would like to check as such. As Mr. Ashish Lal has explained, the examination can happen online too. So that is how to conduct the examination is not a problem. We have the world's best software. We already have purchased all those software and all. So that is not at all a problem for us. Please be ready with all these aspects. As I just said, maybe the current affairs and the general knowledge, logical reasoning, and basic English, some sort of aptitude, and that's how the paper will be. Over to you, Madam Suchi.
Okay, great. Good news coming in there, dear students. The admissions and the entrance exam will definitely be taken online. That seems like the consensus for now. And if there is a personal interview, which there is, there are chances that will also happen online if the situation does not change. So, please do prepare for it and know that we are working on the tech setup required so that we can assist every student in all those admission procedures. All right, our next question comes from Sandeep Biswas, and he's asking us, what is the scope in the private sector with this degree?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I'll be very happy to answer that question.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
all must have heard. You all must have heard enough about the corporate social responsibility (CSR), which is coming up like anything. And the jobs in CSR is tremendous as such. So this is one opportunity you openly have as far the corporates are considered. Along with this, definitely we do have the job openings in NGOs or the think tanks and the government, and different sectors, even including international NGOs and all. Of course, that's a different part, because the question is specifically to the corporate. I would like to speak about the corporate social responsibility. At the same time, there are enough people are hired by the corporate as far as the political lobbying is also considered. Of course, lobbying is not the right word to be used in the official platform. They say that these are the people, those will be engaging with the government bodies. That's the word which is usually used. So you can be a part of that particular team where you will be engaging yourself with the government bodies. And because the additional advantage here is you will be already having the network with many political parties or politicians here, because you're in the same campus of School of Government. That definitely will give you an added advantage as far as engaging with the government bodies or the government institution is considered as such. Over to Mr. Ashish Lal.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, sorry. Just a minute. I was answering the question. Hello?
Yeah, you can continue. You're
Yes.
audible.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So basically, as far as the, sorry, ma'am, what you were asking initially?
What is scope in the private sector?
Private sector.
with
Okay,
this
okay.
degree? Yeah.
See, sorry.
What is the scope in the private sector with this degree?
Okay. When we study the government sector totally, we are looking at the administrative sector also today, and we see the entire functioning of government and politics in the country. You will realize that during this phase, it is not just the government or the government officers who are functioning, but most of the top corporates, they are working very closely with the government on various aspects. They have number of projects. I'll give you a very small example. Like somebody wants to set up a chemical textile unit in an area, they require some kind of permissions, they require some kind of licensing, they need to get some environmental clearances. At the same time, they need to follow the policies and procedures laid down by a certain department, maybe environmental clearances at one end. And these are the aspects, not necessarily always the government officers will come into picture. If you have the understanding and the entire setup of the administration of the government, as well as you understand the bureaucratic setup, you know precisely where to apply, how the files to move. So you will be in a position that you are working in the corporate sector and you are able to take care of these kind of situations that arise in a corporate sector with respect to the government. That is one aspect of it. Secondly, there are various kinds of entrepreneurial jobs, I would say, kind of consultants that are required in the private sector, where they want people who understand the functioning of the government, who understand how the government functions at various levels. We are talking about functioning of the government at the center, how the union ministry works. Then we are looking forward to how the government works at the state government level. So we have a different bureaucratic setup existing in each states. So based on the problem or the issue that a corporate is facing or a corporate wants, they would like to have graduates like you who would love to help them, associate with them, and act as a bridge between the government and the corporate. So that is again a very good niche career where you can work. There are a lot of people who jump into this bandwagon, but not having much knowledge. Most important, the exposure. You might have gone through the presentation and you've seen that we are giving you internships, we are giving you projects in every trimester. Every trimester, you have a different vertical where you're working. So by the end of the program, you will have knowledge of about 6 to 7 verticals, how government functions in each area. So this will be very helpful when you are looking forward to a career in the corporate. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, so we are moving on to our next question, and we have a lot many more questions from students. Our next question is from Amol, who is asking us how to prepare for the UG PET exam, which is the entrance exam, and how many years of current affairs or GK would you ask in this exam?
That's an excellent question. I appreciate that question. The interesting question is, how many years current affairs will be asked? You know, current affairs is current affairs, right? It cannot be old affairs as such. So the answer is so simple that it has to be current, and keep on reading the newspaper every day. You will definitely you can crack this particular examination as such. I leave it to Professor Gopal to speak more about the syllabus part of it as for the UGPATE examination is considered, because he is the one who administers this complete examination. So you are asking the right question to the right person here. He is a person who is administering the exam too. Over to you, Professor Gopal.
Thank you, ma'am. This examination would be comprising of 100 marks. So there would be 100 questions. The sections which are there, that is the general knowledge section, which comprises of 25 marks, logical reasoning, 20 marks, basic mathematics, 20 marks, basic English, 25 marks, and computer fundamentals, 10 marks. So this makes up the 100 marks and 100 questions. So what has been expected out over here is your basic understanding. Like it is, you have done till 12th standard. So it is till 12th standard what has been asked. And I know that you are well versed with all these things. So therefore it won't be difficult for you to answer these questions.
Okay, great. Just a couple of more entrance exam questions real quick. Is there negative marking? Okay, that's one. And two, is this like a multiple choice based questionnaire, or are they expected to write out answers as well? Just as to the pattern of the question paper.
Over to Professor Gopal.
Yeah, there is no negative marking, and it would be a MCQ based multiple choice questions with 4 options.
Okay, great. All right. And what are the reference books that students can refer to for the entrance exam?
Again, over to Professor Gopal, because he is the one who is administering the examination. Again, saying before leaving it for his answer, please don't worry too much about the examination as such. These are all 10th and 12th level examination as such. Even if you read or read the day-to-day newspaper, or even if you have little knowledge about the aptitude and the logical reasoning and basic maths, so all these are more than enough. Maybe taking out simple interest, say for example, or what is compound interest, say for example, something which we have done in 8th or 9th or 6th or 7th. We would like to test your fundamental concepts, and in case if you are good in fundamental concepts, you can build up further things in any part of your life. That's how actually as an examiner we always look into that. More of the details, definitely Professor Gopal will be giving it to you. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. As I said in my introductory remarks with respect to this UGPATE examinations, as you are well versed till your 12th standard. So what has been expected out of you is your preparation till your 10th, 11th and 12th standard. So it's like a kind of thing I would be saying or suggesting on your part that go through the NCERT books, which gives you the basic understanding and clears your fundamental concepts. And also, as Haridas Madam has said, newspaper is a must which is expected that you read every day.
Okay, great. Students, it doesn't get more crystal clear than that when it comes to entrance exams. So I really hope you got your answers. Okay, our next question is coming from a student who's asking us, can I know how many political parties is the MIT World Peace University associated with, in terms of providing exposure to students with this degree?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Look, we are the non-political platform. Okay, we don't associate. Like as I said, MIT World Peace University do not associate ourselves with any one political party as such. Having said it, we have a complete political networking. You must have heard a particular school, MIT School of Government. If you have not heard about that, I suggest you go to the website of MIT School of Government. Please check the entire details, or also you can also check from the Facebook page. We have the political party leaders coming from all political parties. You talk about the national parties as well as you talk about the regional political parties as such. We also have the other platform called Bharatiya Chhatra Samsad. Many people have heard about this. Usually around 10,000 students from all over the country every year they take part in this particular conclave, which is Bharatiya Chhatra Sansad, where these politicians and, it's not only politicians, the bureaucrats, the politicians, and even the people from the film and the other industry also, they come and they address the students of 18 and above, of course, 18 and above. So we completely, we have the clear understanding of what the political system is, and many of our students from I'm talking about the other school which we have, not with the BE, but they are associated with political parties or with a politician of their own choice. And even in our BA program, of course, this BA program we have started last year, so they still have not come to the third year. In the third year, we'll be giving them the internship also. Many of the existing students also, they have expressed their interest to give the internship with the political parties, which can be easily done because we already have established the network and the linkage as such. You can visit our website, www.MIT School of Government. That is the website. You can definitely check into that. I request Professor Ashish Lal to speak furthermore onto this.
Sure. Ma'am, further going with what ma'am has said, MIT World Peace University is an educational university. So an educational university directly doesn't affiliate or associate with political parties, number one. Number two, ma'am has rightly pointed out, we have another school, MIT School of Government, existing for last 15 years, and it's a constituent unit of MIT World Peace University, which runs a postgraduate program, master's degree in political leadership in government. And the students there are offered internships, and they work with various political parties. So that kind of association, when we look at the university, yes, you name it, all the national political parties that we have in India, we are in close contact with them since 2005, not now, almost 15 years. You look at various regional political parties. If I look at South, AIA, DMK, you look at CPI in Kerala, we come down to Andhra, TRS, you look at Maharashtra, we have regional parties here also. Shiv Sena is there, then we have NCP, we have Congress, we have BJP, moving down north. So as we move across from south to north and east to west, the regional parties which are popular in each state, like in Orissa, we have BJD, Biju Janata Dal. Similarly, we have associations in a way where our students get opportunities to work as interns in various political parties. So yes, when we look at the kind of network we have developed, like for engineering, we have technical companies, for management, we have other corporate companies. For politics, we have a network with political parties across, from national parties to state parties. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add 30 seconds further here. Look, this MIT School of Government, this is the institution which started this BA in Government and Administration program. Possibly I did not mention it earlier at all, because from this year onwards, we have started a new school called School of Public Policy, and this BA program will be taken under Public Policy School. But originally this BA in Government and Administration started with MIT School of Government only. And your senior batch students, they are in the same school as such. I just wanted to say this, so that, because there are a lot of questions coming up with connecting them with the politician or the political party. That's the right thing. We can definitely do that. Even the classes are on the same floor. If the politicians, they come to the class, we usually allow you also to sit for that particular class. You can also network with them. So that's how the things are. Same, we have the classrooms one next to the other, where both the students, they sit and they do the networking as such. Because politics, what matters in politics is the networking. And unless you have that much of networking, you will not be in a position to sustain. And School of Government under MIT WPU is a platform to give this particular networking to entire students. So we will definitely do that for BA program too. I repeat what I said, BA program is started by MIT School of Government. We have that vision at the back of our mind, and we will be giving that facility or the platform to you too. Over to you, Suchi.
Okay, great. All right. Now we have our next question from a student who's asking us, due to the lockdown situation, how can I apply for the UG PET exam?
Okay, you can apply online, dear student. See, we have already the link available. If you just can put the question in your Q&A section, we will definitely send the link also to you. You can apply online. That is not at all the problem. At the same time, you can also make out the WhatsApp number, which is given on the screen. And you can also ask them to send the admission link. We will also send it to you on WhatsApp. That's absolutely not a problem. Over to you, Suchi.
Right. So the WhatsApp number that ma'am was referring to, dear student, is 9881492848. So, that's the WhatsApp number that you can save. And I request all students to do that. After this webinar ends, you can definitely get on to that number and share your queries with us, and we'll be happy to, send in more relevant information. Okay. Next up, ma'am, if a student is asking us if we can tentatively walk them through the entire admissions process and also the admission schedule. So just a step-by-step process of how should a student approach his entire admissions process to this degree.
Okay. Madam Nita would like to take this question. Otherwise, I'll take.
That's ma'am, you're doing very well today, but I can just add on something else that I wanted to say. The admission process is actually pretty simple. Apply, get through, and come and join. I mean, I can put it very shortly like that. But like Haridas ma'am said, that there are actually so many more avenues in this that a student can join in and start doing side by side. And the faculty here is very, very open towards the kind of things that the students need to do, just not a degree, but also prepare for all the other exams that they need to. The admission process is one thing which is a little bit in terms of timelines, a little question is there, for which sure you've heard in the news by now that there are bodies like the Ministry of Education, the UGC, which are now sitting and talking about possibly because of the COVID-19 situation in the country, some delays happening. So the admission process itself that Dr. Lal has shared, that Dr. Haridas ma'am has already shared, remains as is for now. The dates remain as is for now, but things might change in terms of when the academic year starts, when the merit lists are coming out. And accordingly, there could be other changes also. It's not just for this course, but across the country, there could be changes in even the admission process for that matter. But right now, today, we don't have an answer to a whole lot of that. Process is simple. Apply, get through, and come and join. The problem right now is when. That is what we can't help you with right now. But keep checking the website, and we'll keep you updated as well, of course.
Yeah. Thank you,
ma'am. I think I'll request you to take that in a little more detail.
Yes.
Where exactly and when will the entrance exam happen, and the step-by-step process for all.
I'll do that. I'll do that. See, the step number 1 is you need to go on our website, MIT World Peace University, www.mitwpu.edu.in. That's the website we have. Please go to that particular website and you can click on the undergraduation program. So the moment you click on the undergraduation program, you'll get the link of this BA, Government and Administration. That link you will find out that. So the moment you apply, you need to apply to that. That is the stage number 1. The moment you apply, once your entire data is available with us, our executives will get back to you on all the details. You don't have to be worried on that. That is number 1. But at the same time, I'll explain what happens further too. So once we decide on the examination date, it will be somewhere around end of last week of May. That's what is the plan as of now, or first week of June possibly. We will be conducting the online examination. As I said, we have already procured the online examination software, which we will be using it for all this UGPATE examination. So there will be 2 things. One is a UGPATE written examination. And further the interview process as such. So you will be given the written examination first. Written, I mean the online examination first, and then you will be given the interview. So both the marks will be combined. Your performance in the written examination and your performance in the interview both will be combined. And we do the merit list. We prepare the merit list. So once the merit list is prepared, you will be giving the information saying that if you are a part of the merit list, then we get back to you saying that you are a part of the merit list and you need to pay the fees, whatever. That's how it is. Please remember, in case if you top in the merit list, the 5% of our students, those who top in our examination as such, you will be getting the complete scholarship as for the tuition fees considered for all 3 years. This is an excellent thing which our university has come up this year, because we really would like to have all meritorious students. So when once you are in the top category, I mean the top 5% of our students in this particular batch will be getting 100% fee scholarship for all 3 years. But at the same time, even if you have in your 12th or your 10th, if your score is better, the entire details are available on our website. I suggest you go to our website and check all the details of the scholarship policy. If your percentage score is above 80, if your percentage score is above 90, like this, we have different slabs of scholarships. So you can definitely apply for those scholarships and make the best use of this. Like we really would like to give something back to the society. That's the reason we are training this IAS, future IAS officers or future politicians as such. Engineering and management is completely with the corporate or the commercial basis, but this is something we really, as an education institution, we also have some social responsibility. So we want to give something back to the society. So we have designed all these scholarships based on that as such. So having said it, you can pay the fees. I was talking about that, but the fees again subject to your percentage and how you have performed in the examination and all those things, and then the beginning of the classes. That's how the process is as such. So just to summarize, you will apply first, and then we get back to you on the examination dates. Then we conduct your personal interview. Then comes as the merit list, and then the confirmation about joining the program and the class commencement. That's how the step-by-step process as far as the examination process is considered. Over to you, Suchi. Do you want me to add anything else, Madam Suchi?
No, I think that was perfect, except, ma'am, the personal interview schedule, you mentioned the entrance UGPET exam tentatively would be around last week of May, maybe first week of June. Just again, a tentative idea as to when can we expect the personal interview to happen, and also what is the weightage of the two in terms of marks?
The personal interview will happen within a week's time of the entrance examination. Because we need to release the merit list, and in order to release the merit list, both are required as such. So it is possible that we'll conduct the examination in the morning, and then in the evening we'll conduct the interview as such. It's based on how many applications we'll be getting as such. So if we have more pool usually, which is expected, of course, which I see in the incoming forms also now, that the program is in good demand this year. So once we have, say for example, we have almost 400, 500 applicants applying for this particular program, then we will be conducting the online examination, which will go once for everybody, and then we schedule the interview as such. Interview process will start from the same evening, but maybe your turn might come after a day or 2 days later, or 3 days later or something, based on our schedule as such. The schedule is again availability of the faculty members, availability of the experts, and all these, and technology. So all these are the variables which we consider as such. So my answer to this, when the personal interview is after the completion of your written examination, within 4 to 5 days, we'll complete these interviews also. That's my answer to your first part of the question. Second one is, how much is the weightage? See, what we are going to do is, we are going to combine your scores of your personal interview as well as the online examination. So both put together, you have to have minimum 50%, and then we make the merit list. I hope that's very clear. I repeat what I said. The merit list is prepared based on the combined score of your written examination as well as your written examination as well as your personal interview. And then both put together, you have to have more than 50% in that to be a part of the merit list. And then it's a merit list as such. So it depends on, we have the intake of 120 for this particular program. So once we have 120, so we'll be selecting the top 120 students. So the first merit list will come in case if there is some vacancy, then we are going to give you the second merit list. That's how the things are. Over to you, Suchi.
Okay, great. So dear students, I hope that really cleared, all your queries as to what you can expect once you apply for this program and how you can take it ahead. All right, our next question is coming from Siri, who is asking us, is this program useful for civil services exam preparation?
This is the program completely customized for civil service examination. I repeat what I said. This is a program completely customized for preparing for the civil service. See, usually what the students do is they go for some graduation here and there, and they keep on going for the coaching classes outside. So when once they're going for the coaching classes, they're unable to give the time for the coaching classes, or they're unable to give the time to the graduation program as such. And many times the examination clashes here as well as there, so they're unable to manage that. So this is a program which we have designed in such a way that you will be getting the BA degree, bachelor's in arts degree. You will be getting it, the qualification which is approved by UGC. You will be receiving this particular degree. At the same time, you will be preparing for your UPSC or civil service examination. Your civil service examination is having your prelims, your mains, and the interview and all. The same syllabus is a part of the BA syllabus also. So whatever you study for BA is applicable for your civil service examination, or whatever you prepare for civil service examination is a part of our BA syllabus. That's how we have completely customized this particular program. And it's the only one in India. We are the first one to customize this particular program as such. See, MIT, we established ourselves in the year 1983. We were under the Pune University earlier, and 3 years before, this Maharashtra government and the UGC, both of them, they have given us the status of private university. So now we directly report to UGC as such. We directly report to government of Maharashtra. So because of that, we are in a position to do all these things as such. We can customize based on the market requirement. But usually the other state universities or the central universities, they do not have this particular option as such. But we, being the private university, we have definitely taken this as a cognizance, and we have customized the program, the BA program, only for civil service aspirants as such. I hope I have made it very clear as such. Over to Mr. Gopal, if you would like to add anything. Professor Gopal.
Yes. I would just like to add that I would request the students to please see the syllabus of UPSC examination, and also what syllabus is available for this BA Government Administration program. So during my presentation, as I said, there is an perfect continuity has been established while this particular curriculum is being taught, so that you are well prepared for your prelims examination, for your mains examination, and your personality test. And also, we are having a trimester pattern wherein we are having a mode which is known as the continuous evaluation, wherein you are being tested for your prelims, that is the MCQ based examination, and also you are being tested for your mains, that is the descriptive examination. So this program completely suits for your UPSC preparation. Over to you, madam.
Okay. Great. All right. So students, I think we'll take last few questions real quick. But you already heard our esteemed faculty members today tell you as to how much the MIT World Peace University values students who are pursuing or interested in pursuing academic excellence. If you do make it to our merit list, and the top 5% of who is there in the merit list will be given a scholarship. We have that scholarship policy in place as well at MIT World Peace University. So absolutely, we encourage and we value academic excellence, and to all students who are pursuing and walking on that path, we really hope to hold hands with you and further help you take it ahead. All right, our next question is coming from a student who is asking us, are there any specializations available in this degree?
See, this is the specialization in government and administration. Please understand that. So if you would like to be in the government or you would like to be in the administration, we call this as, one is a bureaucracy, the other one is the government. Now, these are the two things which you really have to learn. So this government and administration itself is a specialization as far as BA is considered. Over to Professor Gopal. You would like to add anything in brief?
Yeah. See, as we go through this syllabus, here we need to understand that policy making, which is one of the very specialized area, is also open for the students over here, and also the lateral entries which are being opening up. That is also the other area which opens up. So therefore, your been very much, what you may say, this program offers you that flexibility for you to specialize yourself. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, we have a few more questions. One student is asking us, can I get an education loan if I decide to pursue this program and if I need to fund my education?
The question goes to Mr. Ashish Lal.
Yeah. As far as the education loans are concerned, education loan facilities available with the nationalized banks and with a few private banks like HDFC Bank and Axis Bank. So when you are applying for an education loan, apply for the loan through a nationalized bank initially. We are a recognized university and we have a few tie-ups with some of these banks. When you go there, remember one thing, that when you're applying for an education loan, you need to have a co-applicant there. So the background check of a co-applicant is very important in education loan. It is not a mortgage loan. It is nothing of that sort. It's a pure education loan. But at the same time, you need to have a good background of the co-applicant along with you, and your education loan can be processed through nationalized banks like State Bank of India, Bank of India, and private banks, even HDFC and Axis Bank also. You can apply for the loan. Thank you.
I'd just like to add a little bit here. We also have associations formally laid out by which the percentage of interest is actually lower at some banks. So we have tie-ups with a few banks. So at the time that the admission is confirmed to you, then we can help you with that. So the counseling team will help you get your admission done, and we'll help you get in touch with the person who is actually allocated to us from a few banks to help out with the loans that we have. We currently have tie-ups with Bank of India and Axis Bank, and we are in talks with many more to get a formalized setup at a lower rate than the market. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. So, dear students, I hope we answered all your queries for today. If you still have questions, please do check out our WhatsApp number, which is 9881 492 848. And the first step of taking this ahead, of course, is sending in your admissions applications for this program, which is the BA in Government and Administration program. So do log into admissions.itwpu.edu.in. We are all in a very uncertain situation today. So I do want to mention that the earlier you are in your admissions process, the more it allows us to get in touch with you and guide you further as to the next steps. So I would urge you to be early in your admissions process and not keep it till the end. All right, so thank you so much to our esteemed faculty members as well as dear students for joining us today. We will catch you very, very soon. In the meantime, this webinar ends here and we wish you a safe stay. Please stay indoors and we wish you a happy and a safe stay.